Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're just sitting down together, you and me, to talk about something incredibly heavy. We're talking about burnout, discouragement, that awful, sinking feeling that you are pouring from a completely empty cup. You know the feeling, right? It's literally like walking through this relentless, dark storm where no matter how hard you push forward, the wind just keeps blowing you back. Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're going to look at a profound piece of historical writing that acts as a beacon of light, a real guide from darkness to dawn for the discouraged comrade. Listen to this. This is a real, heavy, stormy Monday morning confession from a minister named James Smith. And he wrote this all the way back in 1864. He says, I do try to bring sinners to Jesus, but alas, I seem to labor almost in vain. Wow. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever felt that exact crushing ache? You pour your heart out, you do literally everything right, and yet nothing seems to change? The impact just feels so small, and the exhaustion is absolutely bone deep. I think it's so deeply validating to know that this feeling of absolute depletion isn't new at all. You are definitely not alone in it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because here's the thing. This isn't just a moment to sit around and wallow in the dark. It's actually a setup for a massive breakthrough. So we have to ask a really pivotal question. What does this painful and gloomy experience actually teach us? Instead of letting this despair just crush us, we're going to extract the profound, totally liberating lessons hidden right in the middle of this storm. We're going to figure out exactly how to walk out of the darkness and toward the dawn. Section 1. The state of human nature, or facing the dark reality. So to understand why we feel so exhausted, we first have to really understand the soil we're trying to plant our seeds in. When we're trying to reach people, influence them, or bring them to truth, we aren't just dealing with a slight bit of stubbornness. We are up against a deep, entrenched resistance. The soil of human hearts often feels impossibly hard to break, and there's a very specific reason for that. Human nature is alienated from the life of God, spiritually deaf, and is dead as a corpse to eternal things. Now, I know that's some intense language, but it's absolutely crucial for framing our perspective. We so often think, hey, if I just explain it better, they'll finally get it. But it's actually like a deaf adder stopping its ears to the wisest charmer. It's not that your pitch isn't good, it's that the receiver is fundamentally unplugged. They are completely alive to the everyday vanities of this world, but just entirely unresponsive to the eternal. Section 2. The limits of our efforts and the boundaries of human agency.
This is where we really start to validate your burnout. If you've been carrying the weight of changing people's hearts entirely on your own shoulders, well, it's no wonder you're exhausted. We have to clarify the strict, stark boundaries of what human effort alone can actually pull off. And this beautifully illustrates that frustrating disconnect that drives us crazy. On one side, we teach, we warn, we exhort, and we invite. We pour out our most earnest, affectionate efforts. We carefully craft the perfect words. But then, on the other side, they remain careless, indifferent, and deaf. We can be like a beautiful song played flawlessly on an instrument, but we cannot force someone to change their tune. We can please them, for sure, but we cannot convert them on our own power.
There's this incredibly poignant analogy from the source text about a prophet's servant. He runs ahead, takes his master's staff, lays it right on the face of a lifeless child, and fully expects that child to just revive on the spot. But he has to return and deliver this heartbreaking line, Master, the child is not awaked. That staff, that is our human effort. We can lay the truth right in front of someone, we can do everything perfectly by the book, but we have absolutely zero human ability to manufacture spiritual life. The child is not awakened by the staff alone. Section 3. Relying on divine power, or the absolute necessity of the Holy Spirit. Now here is where the very first rays of dawn start to break through our stormy night. This is the pivot toward true relief. It's the realization that true conversion, any real change in a human heart, is never born of our eloquence. It's not about our clever arguments. Actually, it's not even about our earnestness. It is entirely 100% dependent on God's power. What's absolutely fascinating here is how this division of labor systematically lifts that crushing burden of producing results right off your shoulders. Look at how this breaks down. Under human agency, we can convince the judgment, we can alarm the conscience, and we can impart light. That's our job. But under divine power, only God can change the heart, renew the will, and impart divine life. You are only responsible for that first list. The second one is entirely above your pay grade. So the text drives home this profoundly liberating truth. Success depends absolutely and always on the Holy Spirit. Unless God works, all is in vain. I really want you to let that wash over you for a second. At first, it sounds a little scary, right? All is in vain. But it's actually an incredible relief because you cannot force a conversion or engineer a heart change. The ultimate responsibility rests safely in God's hands, not yours. You, my friend, are officially off the hook for the final outcome. Section 4, aiming to please God and shifting the goalpost. So, if we aren't measuring our success by how many people we've visibly changed or how packed a room is, how do we measure it? Well, we have to completely recalibrate our metric for success. We are shifting entirely away from producing visible results to a much simpler, far more beautiful goal, simply pleasing God. This is where the light of morning really starts to warm up the landscape. Look at how accessible this is. To easily please God, we simply must have a single eye, keep an honest heart, and consecrate our life to His service. That is literally it. These are actual, attainable goals for your faithful, day-to-day service. You don't need some massive platform or undeniable, flashy metrics to have a single eye or an honest heart. You can do this in the quiet, in the small moments, even when absolutely no one is watching. I absolutely love this reassurance. God is pleased with us whenever we try to please Him. Loving laborers are always approved. What a warm, comforting reminder. Loving laborers are God's special favorites. He actually accepts our poor, fumbling, imperfect services for the Redeemer's sake. When you genuinely try to please Him, He is pleased. The attempt itself is the victory. Let's ask a really hard question, comrade to comrade. Are you looking at the immediate results, or are you looking simply to the Lord for His approbation, His approval? It is time to stop staring at the empty pews, the small audiences, or the total lack of instant feedback. Those things will always, always discourage you if they become your focus. Look up. Seek only the Master's approval. When your eyes are fixed on His glory, the crushing pressure of those immediate, frustrating results just melts away. Section 5, From Darkness to Dawn and Reaping in Joy. We've made it through the storm, and we are finally stepping into the full, warm light of morning. Now that we've shifted our focus, we can actually start to see the hidden, eternal fruitfulness of a faithful, quiet ministry. It's time to look at what happens when we just keep planting the seeds and leave the rest to the Creator. You do not know the extent of your usefulness. God is often working when we conclude nothing is happening. Please let that be a balm to your weary soul today. It is this surprising, beautiful truth that the periods you thought were the absolute most barren, the times you felt you were just shouting into the void, might actually turn out to be among your most productive in the grand scheme of eternity. You are planting seeds that someone else might water, and God will eventually make grow. Let's clearly summarize our true role here. Your job description is only 4 things, just 4. Be faithful, be hopeful, be industrious, and leave all results with the Lord. Success is not put in our power. The Lord keeps that securely in His own hands. Just think about the sheer freedom in that. Your mandate is simply to be a diligent worker in the field. You're not the one who controls the weather, and you certainly aren't the one who forces the harvest. So the crucial point we're driving at is beautifully captured in this ancient promise. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. He who goes forth and weeps shall doubtless come again with rejoicing. Every single tear you've shed over your work, every moment of utter frustration in the storm, it isn't wasted. It is literally watering the seed. The dawn is coming, and this text promises ultimate joy for the depressed but diligent laborer who simply refuses to give up. We're going to end with this powerful sunrise of a quote, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, "Well done, good and successful servant," or "good and popular servant." No, it says, "faithful." As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. How incredibly freeing is it to realize that the highest praise you can ever possibly receive requires absolutely nothing more than your simple, stubborn faithfulness. Let that truth fuel you, comrade. Go step back into the light.